to your practice. Whatever the day has been like, you've arrived, you're here. That's the hardest work of the whole practice itself. And we're going to dive into the sides of the body today. So typically most of our lives and most of the yoga practice are oriented in what we call the sagittal plane, which is where you move forward or back. So most of what we do in life is either in front of us or behind of us. There are two other planes that we can move, the transverse, which is where we twist, and the coronal, which is the side body, which is what we're going to spend time in today. And that's all of the muscles, I'll take off the sweater here, that really run along the seam of the body. So you've got the intercostal muscles that are between the ribs that really help expand breath capacity. You've got the sides of the waist, the obliques, and then in the back, there's a really important muscle back here called the QL, or the quadratus lumborum, that can, when it is very tight, can cause a lot of challenges with low back pain and issues in the iliosacral area of the spine. So all the movements we're doing today are going to kind of spend some time and attention here. We're going to start, and you can face a longer edge of your mat if you're on a mat. Extend your left leg out wide, and then have your right leg in like that half butterfly swing that we've had a few times before. And then you could either place a block, or I'm actually going to use my bolster, my pillow, but either would work behind that left leg. So I'm going to start it quite high because I know I'm tight today. And you'll place your left elbow either on your pillow or your block, cradle your head, and then sweep the right arm up, bend the elbow, and place it also behind the head. So we're starting to really feel into the side of the body here. And you may have already been greeted with quite a bit of sensation. So just notice where the edge of the pose is for you. And remembering that in this practice of yin yoga, we are never seeking sensation. We're always looking for that Goldilocks position that is just enough without being too much. And sometimes, like I'm experiencing just now, I'll feel the body start to sort of soften and release into this a bit. So I can sometimes actually lower my prop to a different level and drop in a little bit more. Taking about 3 to 4 more really unrushed breaths here. Notice some tingling in that top arm. So on your next breath, start to reach the right arm up, let it float back down. We'll lift up the torso just about halfway and then rotate the whole torso in the direction of that extended leg. And then you might use your pillow or your block and fold forward, and you'll feel the awareness shift to the lower right quadrant of the spine. One of the reasons why we spend some time in the sides of the body is because when we get fascia buildup in these parts of the body, it can really minimize our access to a full breath. It can actually dampen the lung capacity, and the functioning of the diaphragm or the breath muscle can become less than optimal. So as we're in these shapes, really important to welcome in full breath. Allowing the breath itself to massage that fascial tissue. Just 2 more breaths here. And then slowly guiding yourself upright. And we're going to take a half version of a pose we did a few weeks ago, half shoelace. So the left leg's going to stay as it is, doesn't need to move at all. This right leg, we're going to take it and actually, much like you would a shoelace, kind of thread it or cross it over so that I actually have a stacking of the right knee over the left. Okay. Now I'm not so worried about this top leg. You may feel a little bit in the right hip, but as you start to fold forward, what you will likely start to feel is the IT band of your left extended leg. So the IT band runs from the outer hip to the outer knee. And so it's probably that bottom extended leg that you're really feeling here, and that's exactly what you want to feel. Letting the sole of that left foot relax completely. And if you were to indulge in a bit of imagery here, if you think of your leg as a river, then the IT band is along the banks of the river. And so you might welcome the breath to really move into the riverbank as fully as it can with every inhale and exhale. Sort of lapping up against the boundary of the iliotibial band in the body. As we spend the last 30 seconds or so here, just acknowledging if any shifts or changes have taken place over the course of the last couple of minutes. Just letting yourself notice the body as it evolves. Start to walk the hands in, and we will momentarily, as just a place of transition, take the legs in a wide V. Doesn't need to be super wide. We're just going to be in kind of this neutral stance for a moment, but bringing the awareness up to the sides of the neck. Eyes could be open or closed, and just letting the head sway from side to side as you bring the chin over one shoulder and then over the other. You may just be aware of your range of motion here, if there's any stretching, or maybe the neck's just feeling really good. There's nothing we're looking for here. We're just welcoming in some really gentle movement. And the next time you come to center, pause, and we'll switch, dropping right ear to right shoulder and left ear to left shoulder. And this is completely at your own pace. Just again, bringing a certain amount of awareness into the sides of the body that we don't always pay a lot of attention to. And then letting the head come to center, pausing for one more breath here before we take that 2-pose sequence on the second side. And then the right leg will stay extended as we draw this left knee and left foot in, and taking whatever props you're using. And I know I need to start pretty high up here because I've been sitting a lot today, so I'm going to be really gentle with this entry. Right hand on that pillow or that block, a sort of cradling of the head. And then as I'm ready, sweeping that left arm up and over and just letting that left hand or forearm sort of drape itself behind the head. It may seem like a strange analogy, but I often think of the sides of the body like the kitchen junk drawer that we all have. The drawer that you put all of the odds and ends in that lacks organization. It's just a catch-all. And the sides of the body are often like that, where we can forget to give them their own time and attention, their own dedicated part of practice, to really clean out some of the junk that's no longer serving us. If, like I am, you're feeling a sort of dropping in, like there's maybe more space to explore here, you can always shift the prop situation and maybe sink in a little bit deeper. And the key, of course, is can we visit these parts of the body before they become so aggravated that, in the analogy of the kitchen drawer, you can't even close the drawer anymore because it's so stuffed? Can we be thoughtful enough to spend time here before it becomes problematic? Slowly letting that left arm release down. And we don't have to come all the way up. We'll come up about halfway and then turn the entire torso to face that extended leg. You might need to shift the prop orientation and then fold in. And for me, the sensation really slides into that bottom left quadrant of the spine, which is exactly where we want it to be right now. And so really extending a warm invitation to the breath to take up all of its space in the low back. Noticing if there's any resistance coming up in the body. Sometimes the body, when there's tenderness, there can be a sense of needing to protect the body from sensation. So if that arises, you might just remind the body that you are in a safe place, that you're
deeply listening to the body. There's no pushing here. You're just allowing the body to go where it wants to go, and breathing with a sense of ease and relaxation. Giving yourself one more breath here. And then taking your time, using the support of the arms to lift up. And we'll be coming into that half shoelace. So the right leg doesn't need to move. That left leg comes and loops over, much like when you're tying shoes. And as you're ready, just letting the torso, the upper body, kind of drape itself over the legs, remembering totally relaxing that right foot. Another image that somewhat comically comes to mind for me when I work with the side body is underneath a bed. You know how we often store things, or when we were children we might stuff or hide things underneath the bed that we wish to ignore or we didn't want our parents to discover. But eventually there comes a time to kind of clean it out. So you may be encountering tension that has been here for quite some time, but has not been tended to. And just know that you may not alleviate all of that tension today. That's not our intent. But instead, giving yourself permission to be fully present with what's happening right now in the body. Knowing that just being here with the body as it is always enough. Final breath here. And then slowly lifting up. And you can actually move the majority of your props out of the way because you're not going to need them. We're going to do one final pose. And then as we prepare to come into Shavasana or relaxation pose afterwards, we're going to explore taking that belly down today. So just exploring a different version of rest. But we're going to take the banana pose, which you may remember from the very first week of this series. And it's the same pose, but we do it belly down. So if you come and lie on the abdomen, you can begin by bringing the arms sort of out in front of you. And I'll show this first, and then you might see that I lift my head just to continue talking, but I will demonstrate. So the pelvis is in the middle of the mat. Without moving your hips, guide the feet over to that bottom right corner. And then guide the shoulders and the upper torso there as well. And then you can bring the left cheek and the left side of the head to the mat. And then I often like to actually extend my right arm alongside my body here. And so this belly down version of the banana pose is slightly more introspective. The expression of placing the front of the body in contact with the mat is very soothing to the nervous system. The way that when we have seen babies placed on an adult's chest, we understand the nature of being soothed heart to heart. In your own time, making your way back to neutral for just a breath or two to pause right there in the middle. And then as the body feels ready, guiding the feet over towards the left. Again, not moving the pelvis, just the legs, and then the upper chest. You'll turn the head so that the right cheek and temple come down and the left arm extends along the side body. One of the beauties of having the belly down on the mat is really being able to witness the rhythm, the personal symphony of your own breath. And so just noticing that beautiful interaction of the belly pressing into the floor or the mat on the inhale. And the belly softening and dropping into the mat on the exhale. And then we will begin to prepare the body for final relaxation. And there is an offering today if you would like to stay here on the belly. Resting your favorite cheek on the mat, the arms could come alongside the body. If this is not particularly restorative, you could always flip back over onto the spine in a more traditional orientation. And I'm coming to sit up just so that you can continue to hear my voice, but we will stay here in deep relaxation for about 2 to 3 minutes. And I'll offer some very gentle guidance in this relaxation period. First, asking you to direct your awareness to the breath. As you inhale, feel the breath moving from the outside of your left ankle all the way up the seam of the left side of the body to the top of the head. And on the exhale, following the breath from the top of the head down the seam of the right side of the body to the outer right ankle. And we'll continue in that same circle, inhaling the breath from the outer left ankle up the left side body to the top of the head. Exhaling down the right side body all the way to the outer right ankle. And continuing to mentally trace the breath around this perimeter of the body. Allowing the breath to infuse a sense of spaciousness and opening along the seam of the body. Allowing the next breath to become slightly more enlivened and invigorating. As you exhale, maybe wiggling the fingers and the toes. And eventually, you might bring the palms underneath you to just very gently guide yourself through all fours and to a seated position, knowing there's no need to rush the transition. We'll close our practice just with a really simple moment to pause and express some gratitude for these parts of the body we don't always take a lot of time to really spend in. An awareness that we have this ability to move from side to side, and so maybe we ought to do it more often. And you could either place the hands on the body, or if it feels more natural to bring the palms together. We'll close this practice with a very simple peace offering. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. Thank you for your practice.